Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be a quick guide on KUJOU Sara here. And it's because a lot of people in my streams and also in my Discord have been saying things like they don't really understand how Sara works. And I'm not gonna lie, she definitely is kind of confusing, because let's be honest, when you go to her talents and you look and try to like read some of the stuff, it's definitely very wordy. So I'm not going to actually read all of this. I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown on how she actually works and how to apply her attack boost to other characters. Now, a lot of this is wrapped up in her E, and then also in her Q as well. She can actually apply the same exact buff, but I'll get there in a second. So right now I'm in the trial version. As you can see, they currently have the Favonius Warbow, and personally I think any energy recharge 4-star weapon is actually pretty good on her, but I would probably recommend the sacrificial bow a little bit more over this one as an option for 4-star weapons. And the reason why I think an energy recharge bow actually works really well on her is because you'll be able to get the Q up more, which is more ways to buff characters with her. But if you do end up reading the E description all the way, you'll see that it scales with her base attack. And if you don't know, if you go into attributes and details, this is your base attack right here. So the 574, it has the plus 610 there, and that's probably coming from the artifacts, but the artifacts don't even matter when it comes to base attack and what the attack boost scales off of. The base attack really refers to the level that you have your Sara at plus the weapon base attack, and that's what you're gonna get there. And I believe if I go over to the talents and look at this, the attack bonus ratio is going to be 69% of that base attack. So how do I actually use Sara to buff is a question I've been getting a lot on streams and in Discord. And basically the gist of it, as you can see, we just have Sara here in normal version. And if I hit the E, she's going to do a little step back. And you see how her wrist is kind of glowing there? She kind of has that Apple Watch going, and it has the crow feathers around it. This is how you know she's in her E state, or the crow feather state, I believe is what they call it. And to give this buff to another character, first of all, I'm gonna go ahead and look at Lisa real quick. As we can see, her attack currently is at 1.478. So now I'm back here, and what you want to do is do a charge attack actually. Okay, I ran out of the state because I was talking too long. But if I do the E, and then I hold a charge attack here, that's going to leave this little explosion. I swap to a character, and now as you can see, we have the visual buff here of the crow feathers and the arrows indicating that we're buffed. That lasts for 6 seconds. KUJOU Sara is in that state for 18 seconds. So you don't have to quick swap immediately, but it is definitely helpful if you want to get the buff on another character. So as you can see, once I'm in the state here where she's buffed, if I go back into here, now she has 1.872. So almost 400 more attack than what she had when we looked at it before. And now going back to Sara here, if I go back into the talents, if I look at the Q also does buff, and it's gonna buff the same exact amount as the E is going to. But we're gonna see a little bit of difference when we hit the Q here. And the reason for that is because they have the 4-piece noblesse set, which is what I highly recommend building her for. I feel like MiHoYo sometimes gives us really scuffed builds when it comes to the trial characters, but I actually prefer this set a lot, specifically only for utility build Sara here. And the main reason for this is because that attack bonus ratio actually scales alongside the 4-piece set of noblesse here. So by doing the Q, we not only get that 69%, but we also get 20% on top of that. And basically, to show you how that works, if I hit the Q here and then swap to Lisa, now she's in that crow feather state. If I go into her, she now has just over 2,000 attack. So quite a large buff overall. So from her non-buff version to using the Q with the noblesse, now we're at 2,000, up from 1.4K. And I feel like the biggest issue with Sara is that this is very technical, right? Think about this in a situation where you're in Abyss or any kind of like event or anything like that where you kind of have like large mobs. It's kind of a lot to have to like do an E, then a charge attack. Thankfully, when she's in the E, it does decrease the charge attack time. Like as you can see right here, I'm not in the buff state, and if I charge this, it takes a while for it to fully charge. But when I do the E, I believe it decreases the time by 60%. So that's actually pretty good overall. And one real quick thing to mention is that you can just do the E and shoot this like right down at your feet, and then swap to a character, and then be able to like attack from there. Now, of course, you could do this and shoot it far away if an enemy is far away, but the only way to get the buff is if you're within that explosion radius. So as you can see here, Lisa did not get the buff this time. So I feel like in terms of tech, if you only have a C0 Sara, it's kind of better just to like aim it at your feet And she definitely works really well with like a shielder, because that way she won't get interrupted when she is charge attacking, especially if there are enemies swarming you. And so that's pretty clunky overall, right? Like, it's not like Bennett where we just hit a Q and then we're getting buffed the entire time. But I do know a lot of people are pulling for Raiden, and there's a really, really good chance, because Sarah is on the banner, that you're getting multiple copies of Sarah and getting multiple constellations. And so I'm gonna hop over out of the trial version and talk about some of her constellations that I have that I feel like make her extremely good. So at the day of this recording, it is Chongyun's birthday. Happy birthday to my favorite popsicle boy here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show off when we buff him. So currently his attack is sitting at 1.65, I guess we can call it. And so if I move over to Sarah here, I want to talk about some of her constellations. I currently have her C4 because I was pulling a lot for Ball, but I didn't get her, unfortunately. And the constellation that I think is actually her best, don't get me wrong, I think C6 is incredible, especially if you have Ball, or maybe if you're a like Beidou or Kaching main, because the C6 does boost the crit damage of electro damage by 60%, which is insane. But I actually think C2 is the most valuable for Sarah and using her reliably in a team. So right here, it says unleashing Tengu Stormcall will leave a weaker Crow Feather at KUJOU Sara's original position that will deal 30% of its original damage. And during gameplay, I was noticing that she was leaving that Crow Feather there, but because they didn't explicitly say anything about the buff, I thought maybe the buff doesn't work with this constellation, but I actually found out it does, and I found out some really incredible tech with it. So back into Sarah here, when I do the E, it's actually going to leave a Crow Feather right there. So you see that, and then it explodes, and now look, Chongyun has the buff, and he currently has 2.2k attack, up from 1.65, I believe. And I didn't even have to do the charge attack here. That's why I think C2 is probably Sarah's best constellation. So if you've been pulling for Ball, and especially pulling for Ball constellations, you probably have at least a C2 KUJOU Sara then. So KUJOU Sara is actually in the state of buff. Like if I hit E right here and she has this, even if I let that explode, as you can see, her Apple Watch is still glowing, and she stays in this state for up to 18 seconds. So within this time, I can still shoot this down, and I get another Crow Feather right here, right? So this is where some incredible tech, I feel like, comes with her. So if I'm on KUJOU Sara here, what I can do is I can E, swap to Chongyun, get the buff, right? And now he's at 2.2k. And this state of the buff is going to last for 6 seconds on a character. But like I mentioned, Sarah is actually going to be in that state for 18 seconds, right? So if I'm over here on Sarah, what I can actually do is extend the time of this buff, right? So I can hop into here, Chongyun gets the buff, and then after that 6 seconds is done, I'll wait for the Crow Feathers to leave. So as you can see, it's gone, but Sarah's still in this form. I can go here, shoot another one down, and then he's buffed again for another 6 seconds, all within one single E. So that's actually really, really good. And so then technically what you could do is give attack boost to other people within one E of KUJOU Sara. So I could actually be here, and then let's say I go and buff Chongyun, and then once his 6 seconds are done, I go back to Sarah and I can switch to Zhongli, and then now he has the attack boost as well. He's at 1991 attack, and I'll wait for this to go away, as you can see. And as you can see, now that it's gone away, I have 1.4k. So was able to buff multiple people within KUJOU Sara's just one E. Okay, so theoretically with the Q up and with the E, I could really boost all of my characters here. So what I mean by that is theoretically I could go into a situation, I could E, Kazuha, boom, Q, because he's buffed now. I can go back to Sarah and then use her charge shot back to Chongyun. And now he's buffed. And once I do his Q, I could go right back to Sarah, do her Q, Zhongli is now buffed, and then I'm doing his Q. So that way, everyone on my team is buffed and using the strongest abilities that they have. And that's definitely a combo I've had a lot of fun doing in Abyss, especially with my second team that doesn't have Bennett on it. Because of course, Bennett is going to have a lot more utility. So I use him in kind of my weaker team. And then another team that could just use some attack boosting, I use Sarah in there. But for general overworld and everyday kind of stuff, Bennett I think has a little bit more versatility and utility just in general. But I'm having a lot of fun with Sara. I just love her character design. I think she just looks so incredibly cool. So I've been using her a lot lately and have had a lot of fun with it. Last couple things I really want to touch on really quickly though. I do think it's worth it to level up Sara. Of course, you can still get a pretty good attack boost even if you don't level her up a ton. But I do actually believe leveling her, which I need to get more books apparently. I think leveling her at least to 70, and I'm gonna go for 80 for sure, so that way I can get that base attack up. Like I mentioned here, the base attack is based on her level and also her main weapons. So luckily I do have a Skyward Heart. This used to be the weapon I ran on Child, but I moved it over to her because this has the highest base attack of any bow in the game currently. So that's why I'm able to get such high of a boost. Like I said, if you want 4-star options, I don't have many bows here, so it's kind of hard to like show it off. One thing you can actually just look for though is just trying to see what has the highest base attack out of all your bows currently. But if you only have 4-star options and you do actually want a Sara that's going to be able to do her Q buff more often, then I would suggest going for either the Favonius Warbow for the energy recharge or even the Sacrificial Bow, because that's going to be able to allow you to do multiple E's potentially. And a quick thing with the artifacts, like I mentioned, 4-piece Noblesse I think is just overall her best. All of these, as you can see, a lot of them are plus 20, but then I have a plus 12, plus 4. I don't think you need to level her artifacts up all the way. The only thing that I would highly recommend is to be able to get an energy recharge sands here, so that way you can actually maximize Q time, especially if you're running those energy recharge bows on her too. And last quick thing I'll say is prioritize leveling up her E, because that's what's actually going to boost the attack bonus ratio for the buff. I know the Q also does buff, but as you can see here, it doesn't affect how much you get from the buff. That all comes from the E. So in terms of priority for talents overall, I would go E, Q, and then normal. The E is definitely where you want to prioritize, where you spend your books and your Mora. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does just go a long way in helping out the growth of this channel. I also stream most days of the week over at twitch.tv/RichardOriginal. So if you want to catch a stream, just make sure to give me a follow over there. You can also join our Discord. There's going to be a link to all of these things in the description below if you want to join the Discord, talk Genshin with a group of other folks. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.